Welcome to the world of those who stayed, a place where I, a soul left behind, will tell you stories you were never meant to hear, forgotten houses, nameless graves, and places where you should never have walked. If you've ever felt a chill with no wind, if you've ever sensed eyes watching in the dark, you're not alone. So, subscribe. I have more stories to tell, and leave a comment. I read them all, even when you don't think I'm there now. Stay silent and listen.
Episode 1. The Boy Who Spoke to Ghostsium, Not Human. I'm a ghost. It's been so long. I no longer remember what real wind feels like, or the rhythm of a heartbeat. I only remember my death in silence. And since then, I've stayed here. An abandoned train station. Cold, dark, no lights, no people. Far from the city, buried in fog, thick like the dust of time. People forgot this place ever existed, but one child did not. We dash, ghosts live here. No, we exist. The station was closed in 1972 after a train crash. 32 people died instantly. Their deaths buried by the press, then forgotten. No one repaired the station. No one touched the peeling paint on cold iron pillars. No one cleaned the bench where someone once took their final breath. We divided the station. The north corridor belonged to the woman in the red dress. The only place with a mirror cracked. Whoever looks into it sees a face that isn't theirs. The old control room, that's where I dwell. It's our meeting point, our unwritten rules. No living person may enter after midnight. Never appear under direct moonlight. Never speak your real name, or it will hear. We don't walk, we drift. We don't speak, we whisper. We don't feel. Only memories remain fading. Always. We play a game whenever someone dares to come near. We see who can scare them most, but that child wasn't scared. He came for the first time on a rainy afternoon, holding an umbrella too big for his small body. His father, newly assigned security, was stationed here overnight. Rumors said strangers were sneaking in, using drugs, setting fires. The boy said nothing. He sat quietly on the bench, right where the old bloodstain still lingered. I watched, as usual, expecting nothing, until he turned his head, looked straight at me, and smiled. I froze. The other ghosts vanished. He asked gently, "Are you cold?" I didn't know how to answer that question. No one had asked me that in forever. From that night on, he came every night. No adults followed. He brought bread, sometimes milk, placed them on the bench, right where I used to sit when alive. I began to remember. Fragments. I was a control room worker, the last to leave the station that night. I ran to stop the train. Then I remember nothing more. He drew pictures, rough pencil sketches. A man staring at a train, a faceless woman, and a very long black shadow standing in the station. I asked, "What do you see?" He said, "I don't know. I just see it. Like someone crying." The other ghosts warned me. "He's opening the gate between worlds. If he says one of our real names, that ghost will vanish forever." I didn't believe them. I wanted to keep the boy for the first time. I felt alive. But then, one night, whined howling, I saw it. The entity no ghost dares to name. A shadow longer than any human. No face, no legs. It only appears when a ghost's real name is exposed. I had never been so afraid. I rushed toward the boy to pull him away from danger, from that drifting shadow. Only steps away from him, but I couldn't touch him, and my voice was just a cold breeze in his ear. The boy turned around. His eyes were different. He asked, "What's your name?" I almost answered. I almost disappeared. The last night, I waited, but he didn't come until I heard a scream from the west platform. I drifted there, the place of the woman in the red dress. The boy stood in a puddle, holding a photo of me. I understood. He was my nephew, the son of my sister, the girl who once collapsed, crying at my funeral. The family never spoke of me. Only one photo remained, and he found it. The boy said my name. I felt myself dissolving, light, free. But at that moment, it appeared not to take me, but to take the boy. A long shadow slithered out, hissing a sound that didn't belong to this world. I rushed between them. For the first time, I touched something. The price. I was torn from the station. I'm no longer there. Now, I tell this story. Not from the station, but from somewhere else. No sound, no shape. Only me and the memory of a boy who saved. Me with a single question. Are you cold? Some souls don't need to move on. They just need to be remembered with love, not fear. We are only memories, but humans are where memories can become salvation. Episode 2, The Last Light in room 405. I died in a dark hallway. No one heard me scream. No one came back to find me. My death had no tears, no white candles. No one stood by my grave. Only flickering lights and cold air leaking from room 405. I don't know why I stayed. Maybe I was waiting for someone, or maybe to warn them. But whatever the reason, it was too late, because they had already entered. I linger in an old hospital on the city's edge, Cedar Creek Hospital, shut down in 1995 after an explosion. In the basement, most of the power system was destroyed. The building decayed, but inside, spirits gathered, not because we were trapped, but because none of us wanted to leave. The hospital was split into 3 wings: East, West, and Central. In the East Wing, where I exist, there's room 405. The light there never fully turns off, even with the whole hospital in blackout. The light in 405 flickers every night at exactly 3 a.m. No one knows why. We had our own rules. Never enter room 405 while the light is on. Never stand before a mirror at 3 a.m. Never speak the real name of the hollow-eyed nurse. She guards this place. She used to be the head nurse until she vanished in the fire. We don't whisper here. Ghosts don't talk with words, but with breaking lights, emergency buzzers in the dark, the dragging of invisible gurneys. 3 people came, not to film, not to live stream. They came because of a rumor. If you turn off the light in room 405, you'll see what you fear most, or what you've forgotten. Old friends, 2 men, 1 woman in their 20s. They used to be close. Now there's distance. They brought flashlights, cameras, and an old notebook. Inside, a hand-drawn map. A red X over room 405. They didn't know. That room was never meant for the living. I watched the girl. She didn't want to go in. Her eyes kept glancing at mirrors and up at the ceiling, like hearing things others couldn't. I sensed her fear. But it wasn't fear of ghosts. It was fear of remembering. While the 2 men headed toward the basement, she stayed in the East Wing. I came closer. She shivered, turned her head, looked right through me. I didn't mean to scare her. I just wanted to warn her. But she stepped toward room 405. Her hand trembled. I looked into her eyes and saw what I had never seen in the living. She had been here before, not as a patient for treatment, but locked away. Her memories cracked like plaster. She once lay on that bed in room 405 at age 14, wearing a patient's gown. Door locked all winter. No one said why she was admitted. No doctor ever came. Only the voice on the intercom, keep patient 405 in complete silence. I knew who she was, and I understood she didn't come back to explore. She came to end something. She stepped into the room, lights still flickering, blinking with every broken breath. In the mirror, I saw myself, but it was her face, completely different. Cold eyes rolled white. On the wall, scratched messages appeared. I'm still here. Don't turn on the light. They didn't heal us. They hit us. The bulb exploded. The light went out. I tried to whisper, Don't turn it all off. Light is the last thing keeping you here. But it was too late. Outside, the two men rushed back. They had heard her scream. She sat in the middle of the room, shaking. She didn't speak. She held a hospital card, her name, her admission date, and one last line: no discharge. The hollow-eyed nurse appeared behind them. She didn't walk. She glided. Her face had no eyes, just two dark holes dripping black tears. She nodded at me. I understood. A soul was about to stay. The girl never left room 405. The two friends told confused stories. They said she went mad. She hallucinated, but they couldn't explain why the light in room 405 has never turned off since she is now part of this place. Not because she was taken, but because she chose to stay. No other place knew her fear like the room that once locked her in silence. I don't see fear in her anymore, only stillness, like someone who's finally been called by her true name in the right place. Ghosts don't drive people mad. It's the hidden memories that destroy them. We don't trap the living. Some just have nowhere else to go. Episode 3: The Forest That Forgets Nemzai. Don't remember who I am. I don't remember how I died. I don't know my age, if I ever loved anyone, if I hated anyone, where I lived. All that's left is the wind and the sound of names whispered through the trees, like a gentle curse, repeating. Until you forget who you are, I exist here in this cold forest, where every name dissolves into fog. A place where, once you enter, you may never remember what you are. This is Camberlin Forest, a forbidden zone in a national park. It's not. On any modern map, it used to be a therapeutic outdoor facility for teenagers with identity disorders. After a mass disappearance in 1978, 8 patients. To doctors, the forest was sealed, but no bodies were ever found. We ghosts live in the fog. We don't remember who we are, but somehow we remember the names of others. A broken instinct. The forest has rules. Never speak anyone's real name. If you do, that person starts to become someone else. Never walk against the wind. The wind doesn't follow nature. It follows the memories of the dead. Never let anyone remember you. Once you have a name, you no longer belong to the forest. There is no leader. We exist like held breath. No joy, no sadness, only emptiness. A young couple got lost. They came because of a legend in Camberlin Forest. If you carve your name into a tree, your memories will be protected forever. They were in love, or they thought they were. because just hours after entering the forest, they began calling each other by the wrong names. At first, it seemed like a mistake. Then, the names became strangers. The girl looked at him and asked, "Who are you?" I watched them from afar. I had no name. But something inside me moved, as if I once loved someone. As if I remembered what it felt like to lose the one you once called by name. I followed the girl. She was afraid. Not of the dark, but of forgetting. Every time she tried to remember, her head clenched tight. She began to forget the basics. How she got here, her birthday, her mother's name. The boy was the opposite. He started remembering, but things that weren't his. He said another girl's name, recalled a rainy night in an old wooden cabin, remembered a silver necklace that girl used to wear. The girl screamed, "That's not me." But he kept talking, becoming someone else. I knew what was happening. The forest uses memory as bait. It finds cracks in the minds of the living, then pulls them into the roles of ghosts who forgot their names to complete an unfinished loop. The boy was becoming me. The girl was fading from his memory. I felt pain, but also peace. Because if he became me, at least I wouldn't be trapped here anymore. The girl ran, searching for a way out. Name. Her voice echoed, shattered, then repeated, "My name, my name, name." But then she stopped because she wasn't sure if that name was even hers anymore. I stood before her for the first time. I chose to appear with all the fragments I had left, the scent of smoke, a finger that once wore a ring, eyes that once reflected the face of someone who loved me. I pointed west, the only exit. She looked at me and whispered a name, not mine, not hers, a new name, one that had never existed. The forest fell silent. No reaction, because no one can be claimed when their name can't be stolen. She left the forest. The boy did not. She never remembered his name. She never told what happened, but for the rest of her life, every time someone called her by the wrong name, she felt a chill down her spine. And me. Now I have a body, but no memories. I am that boy. I am me. Or I am no one. Asterisk, asterisk, humans don't fear ghosts. They fear forgetting. But sometimes, forgetting is the only way to survive. Asterisk, asterisk with the dead, still carry your memories, because the living. Episode 4. The basement where time stopped. Ty didn't die from an accident. I died because no one believed it would happen. Died because a warning was turned off. Died because at exactly 4:07 a.m. a wall clock in the bank's basement stopped and never ticked again. Now, I live in the loop of that exact moment. Here time doesn't move. No day, no night. Only the sound of a clock, frozen, and then someone came down again. Walden Bank's basement closed after a gas explosion in 1982. The building above was demolished, but the foundation, the deep underground basement, was left untouched. They called it the stopped clock because while everything was damaged, the wall clock in the control room froze at 4:07, with the souls trapped here no longer know how long we've stayed. Because there's no time to count. Rules of the basement. No one touches the clock. If it moves, the loop resets. No one mentions the last second before the blast. To say it is to recreate it. No one keeps memories. We feel the same emotions, but never remember why. Time doesn't pass for us. Only ... Blurred echoes returning. A group of architecture students came to inspect the foundation for a new site. They were given access to old blueprints, sand found. This was once a security archive center, a control room, locked from inside. There were 3 of them. One named Elliot was sensitive to spaces. The moment he entered the control room, he stared at the clock, not because it was frozen, but because it had just moved. Just a flicker. But that should be impossible. I followed Elliot. He was like me. Not in appearance, but in his eyes, the way he looked at cracked walls, listened to gas hissing from old pipes, examined scorch marks like he'd seen them before. But I knew he'd never been here. He carried someone else's memory. My memory, standing before the clock. He whispered, 4:07. The explosion began in the tech room. I didn't close the main valve in time. I felt cold if I could still feel, because that was the last thought I had before everything turned white. How did he know? I began seeing the others again. The guard with a broken leg on the stairs. The accountant with burnt hair. The child. No one knew why it was there. We returned to our places, replayed what happened, like a play with no audience. But Elliot didn't run. He stepped forward. Elliot took the clock off the wall. Inside, there was no mechanism, just an empty box. But when he touched the center between the 2 hands, a door behind the control room opened. The door I died trying to block. The tech room, the center of the blast, he entered. No hesitation. On the wall, blood words long dried. We didn't die from a technical fault. We died because no one noticed the smallest mistake. Elliot read it aloud, and at that moment, time began again. The clock trembled. The minute hand jerked. I was pulled back to where I once stood. Everything replayed. The hiss of gas, screams, warnings, and then white light. Again, how many times? I don't know. When the loop ended, I saw Elia harmed. But he wasn't Elia anymore. He stood among the wreckage, his eyes blank. I realized I'd entered him. Responsibility now inside another body at Elliot would carry it, and I finally faded. Another soul trapped. A new loop began, not mine anymore. His time doesn't forgive. It waits for someone brave enough to relive the final second. You wait, we don't haunt. We pass on memory. To those who dare face what others turned away from. Episode 5. The room where no one leaves. Not everyone becomes a ghost after death. Only those who can't accept they died stay behind. I thought I was a victim until I met myself. Inside that room there, I saw what I used to deny, and I understood why no one ever leaves. Room 301, St. Elmo dorm, permanently locked after a mass suicide in 1996. No one at school talks about it. No records. No family came forward. Just ripped student files, graduation photos with faces cut out, and one third-floor window that never opens. They say whoever sleeps in that room never walks out. Not because they die, but because they stop believing they're real. Rules of the room. Everyone sees another version of themselves already living there. Each night, the room resets, erasing all signs of the day before. At 3:03 a.m., you'll hear a knock. Don't open. Lucy Harding, a student, was wrongly assigned to room 301. She wasn't superstitious, didn't believe in ghosts. She only found it strange that someone was already there. A girl who looked exactly like her, sitting at the desk, writing a suicide note. Lucy screamed, ran out, but the hallway was empty, lights off, and the door behind her was gone. I saw it all. I am Lucy. But from 1996, I died here, in room 301, also on a rainy night. When the knocking came the third time, and I foolishly opened it, the person outside was me, but not alive. Me from 5 minutes after jumping out the window, face twisted, eyes bruised, hands bent, broken, and I smiled. Like it was freedom, but no. Student from 2025, slowly sinking into the same delusion I once had. She began doubting her memories, herself, reality. She read a diary I never wrote, saw a noose hanging though it was clean that morning, heard herself crying without opening her mouth. I didn't want her to die, but she had to see the truth. 3:03 a.m. The knock came 3 times. Like every night, Lucy trembled. Her hand on the doorknob, I stood behind her. The ghost whispered, "Don't open it. Don't be me." But she did. No one outside, just another hallway. On the walls, thousands of portraits, all Lucy, each one dying differently. Pills, jumping, hanging, cutting, drowning. I knew the room didn't kill. It made you face every end you'd ever imagined until you picked one. I screamed. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. She asked if you knew the end. Why didn't you leave? I was silent. I'd never thought of walking out. I thought I had to die here. I chose this room, believed the whispers, never tried to live. Lucy didn't die. She tore the room apart. Didn't believe what she saw. She closed her eyes, walked through the hallway of her own deaths, and reached the final door. It opened. Light flooded in. She vanished. I stayed. But because I'm not ready, part of me wants to talk to the next one. Part of me wants to keep the door open so they know there's a way out. As long as they don't believe in a fixed ending. The room doesn't kill you. What you believe inside, it does. Ghosts don't exist to scare. We exist to show that living's much harder